The Republican House Judiciary Committee has officially had it with Fani Willis, and they want to now investigate her as the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney who has brought indictments against Donald Trump and 18 of his co-conspirators, which of course include his campaign lawyers and his closest allies. Now, the House Judiciary Committee Chair, Jim Jordan, launched an investigation into the so-called motivations behind her indictments against Trump and his 18 co-defendants. And we have a letter that he sent to the Fulton County District Attorney. We'll give you some excerpts on what it says. According to Mediaite, Jordan sent a letter to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis questioning the timing of the prosecution on RICO charges of election tampering, stating it was noteworthy that Willis launched a new campaign fundraising website that highlighted her investigation into Trump just days before the indictments were issued by a Fulton County grand jury. I looked into this, and she launched that fundraising website about 4 days before the indictments were announced. So he has questions, along with others in the Judiciary Committee, about the timing of the fundraising website and also the timing of the indictments as well as it pertains to the 2024 presidential election.
Yeah, so look, 98% of Republican congressional hearings are nonsense, and they're meant to just be political theater. They almost never have any evidence at all. But here there are a couple of legitimate questions. One is definitely about the timing of the trial, starting right before Super Tuesday. Why did they wait 2.5 years? Yes, those are legitimate questions. I know it's a giant rarity for Republicans, but it does happen sometimes, and you have to keep an open mind, and you have to look at the actual facts and not just dismiss it out of hand. Now, having said that, the rest of it, like, okay, did she coordinate with federal prosecutors? So what if she did?
Yeah,
why is that's not a crime? There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know why that's like they say it like as if like, oh, can you imagine if she? Yeah. Well, why wouldn't prosecutors coordinate? I don't get it.
Well, speaking of political maneuvering, this is also partly or majorly political on their behalf as well, right?
For Jim Jordan?
For Jim Jordan, of course. Yeah, so right. I say that because look, there's this really interesting psychological trick that's taking place in multiple different contexts. And it involves someone engaging in something that is not criminal, that isn't even problematic or questionable, but the opposing party will make it appear as though, or talk about it with framing and a tone that makes it seem like there's some illegality there. And in this case, Jordan is accusing her of coordinating with special counsel Jack Smith on this indictment against Donald Trump. There's nothing, if she were doing that, there's literally nothing wrong. I specifically looked into it because I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of legal rule that I'm not privy to. I'm not a lawyer, didn't go to Columbia. Like, please. But it turns out that no, actually, a lot of legal experts were concerned back in April when Fani Willis said in the context of an interview that no, she's not coordinating with Jack Smith. I want to give you her exact quote. So this was an interview in April with WABE. She said, I don't know what Jack Smith is doing. Jack Smith doesn't know what I'm doing. In all honesty, if Jack Smith was standing next to me, I'm not sure I would know who he was. My guess is he probably can't pronounce my name correctly. But the legal experts were alarmed at that statement because they feel that the two absolutely should be coordinating, considering the similarity of the charges, right?
Yeah, look, I don't know why they wouldn't be, and I'll tell you, you can tell one way that I think that they are not coordinating. It's that Jack Smith didn't charge Mark Meadows with anything, and based on what we already know, my guess is that Mark Meadows is working with Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, on the federal case. And that's why he was like, well, do I really have to come into Georgia? Do I really have to take a mugshot like the rest of them? And Fani Willis is like, yeah, why not? Because I don't think she has any idea that he's a cooperating witness for Jack Smith, if I'm right, okay, if I'm right. But so if that's the case, well then they're definitely not coordinating, but who cares if they are? There's nothing wrong with coordinating. Like Republicans just say things like, as if they're like, did you know that Hunter Biden called Joe Biden the big guy? Oh, okay.
No, but it is amazing. The human mind is an incredible thing, right? Because if you just say something, if you make a comment about something innocuous, but you say it in a certain tone, people will be like, oh!
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's no criminality in that at all.
Like, here's another one that they did. Joe Biden would call Hunter Biden every day. And you're telling me they weren't coordinating. Yeah, their father and son, and Hunter was on crack.
But
so Joe kept calling him to say, please get off crack, and like, are you okay, son? They make it sound so nefarious, right? Just in how they state it. But by the way, we're super fair. Fani Willis, for example, the setting up the fundraising site 4 days before the indictment, was that related? Of course it's related, of course. She knows her name's gonna be in the press 1,000 times and is a big fighter against Trump. And is she gonna raise a lot of money for campaigns based on that? Of course she is.
And the question is, I mean, you might think that is, I don't know the right word. You might not like that. You might think that looks shady or whatever, but this is what politicians do.
Yeah, 100%.
This is all they do.
So I hate it, but I'm not hating the player, I'm hating the game.
Yeah, totally.
Right, so like they all do for this greasy fundraising, and they all need to do it because of the insane system that we have. By the way, you know the other guy who made a lot of money fundraising off the trial is Donald Trump. So Republicans, are you as fair as we are? I don't like either one of them fundraising off of this stuff. But my guess is you're gonna say, I can't believe Fani Willis is doing it. It's just 4 days before Trump, of course, here's a couple $100 million.
In fact, Trump has not spent any of his personal money for his legal defense at all. It's all through the donations he's received from his supporters. So just something to keep in mind as this, war continues with both sides accusing each other of things. And in this case, with the Republican Party accusing, Fani Willis of engaging in something that, quite honestly, is pretty indicative of what you'll see in our political system. Now, I want to give you some other excerpts from the letter that was sent to Fani Willis from the House Judiciary Committee. So in addition to accusing Willis of being politically motivated, Jordan also complained about the fact that she required mugshots for those who were indicted, which didn't happen in his previous 3 indictments, in Trump's previous 3 indictments, of course. He wrote, quote, "You did not bring charges until 2.5 years later, at a time when the campaign for the Republican presidential nomination is in full swing. Moreover, you have requested that the trial in this matter begin on March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesday and 8 days before the Georgia presidential primary." So we discussed that. I think there's a legitimate grievance there for sure. Jordan claimed the indictment appears to be an attempt to use state criminal law to regulate the conduct of federal officers acting in their official capacities, and questioned whether and how your office coordinated with DOJ Special Counsel Jack Smith during the course of this investigation. So those were the highlights of the letter, but look, what I'm concerned about is that now things have devolved even further, right? Because while I do think it's important to hold Trump accountable and his co-conspirators accountable for attempting to undermine our democratic process and essentially steal an election, at the same time, now we have these like phony investigations being launched against a prosecutor who's literally doing her job, right?
Yeah, well, look, that's the much larger issue, which is the Republicans breaking down law and order. And it's super ironic because my whole life, the Republican Party has said that they're for law and order. But now that their leader is being held accountable, they do not like it at all. And it's one thing to say, hey, I don't like it. I don't want you to prosecute this guy. I think it's political. Okay, I don't agree, and they have overwhelming evidence and you'll see it in trial. But okay, I at least understand that. It's another thing to say, no, let's now defund the FBI altogether, like disband it, because if you disband the FBI, then they could break even more laws. And by the way, theoretically, the Republicans should be thinking, well, if we defund the FBI, couldn't Biden and the Democrats get away with more stuff? We don't want that, right? But they're not thinking that because they know that Biden's not trying to get away with more stuff, and Democrats are generally, the politicians have tons of problems, right? And there's systemic corruption in the campaign donations, et cetera. But Democrats generally follow the law because they're very establishment, they're very pro status quo. They don't have a reason to break the law. They're already sitting pretty in a lot of ways, right? But the Republicans keep breaking the law over and over and over again at the political level, right? Or their politicians are breaking actual criminal statutes. So they're like, get rid of the cops, get rid of the cops. Cops, yes, good when it's people that we don't like, minorities, whoever else it might be. Cops good when I want to be protected in the suburbs. But when cops are going after our guys, I don't want to just protect my guy. I want to get rid of the cops completely. And by the way, that is not unprecedented for the Republicans. There's one other place where they have defunded the law enforcement, and that's Wall Street. So
the IRS?
For the finance guys, for the bankers, and IRS is another good example. IRS is enforcing the tax laws, and they're like, defunded. They have defunded it so much. I talk about that in my book, Justice is Coming. You can get a link, is down below in the description box. You could pre-order now at trt.com/justice. But anyway, I prove the case. I show you exactly, and what was the first thing Kevin McCarthy promised as soon as they won the House? Defund the IRS, right? And they always want to defund all the regulatory agencies that hold Wall Street accountable because they don't want the rich and the powerful to be held to account. They only want you held to account. And it's because it's not about law and order, it's about power.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us, become a Young Turk.